We've always been leading in fintech around the world because London's been one of the two largest financial centers of the world with New York. So obviously we always trade places there. But then we actually have a much larger software development center and culture here in London than in New York, with more software developers. We have larger headquarters for the engineering teams of Google, Facebook, Amazon, for example. And then on top of that, we have a really progressive regulator for the UK that's based here in London. So we've always actually had a combination of San Francisco or the Bay Area, plus New York and Wall Street and everything that you've got there, but then DC, almost as if it's all in the same city. And that's why I think London's been leading in fintech for years and years.
You are welcome back anytime, Eileen, because that was arguably the most polite disagreement I've ever had, and I appreciate that. Okay.
I've been in England.
Yeah, I will knock sort of that area, and I'm going to include my ancient peoples, Ireland, in that as well. Obviously, separate nation, because I normally thought of that region sort of more, and I don't mean this insultingly, as the back office, particularly in the Dublin area, right? It's not, they're not creating the technology, they're sort of servicing. I'm clearly wrong about that as well, correct?
Well, I'm not going to disrespect your ancestors at all. And in Ireland, there's a great thriving economy for back office administration and the like. But I think the UK in general, with Edinburgh, with hubs in Leeds, even Manchester, and of course London, where about 50% of the fintech sort of output is coming from, we've got a huge financial services sector, and we've got fintech, which is actually pulling in $5 billion in venture funding, not just from the likes of Passion, where I am, like you said, but from all across the world for the fintech startups that are coming and scaling here. And we've had massive rounds raised, but we've also had exit events as well. We had Funding Circle list the second half of last year, and we have really great output here because of how progressive the regulators have been and how great it's been to be able to passport across Europe as well.
That's twice you've mentioned progressive regulators, Eileen. Obviously, I don't need to tell you what's going on here. DC is starting to kind of go after big tech. You think that London may have that advantage because, ironically, over there you might be loosening up?
Well, it's not a loosening up, but I'm being really honest. I'm being sincere. It's true. The regulator here is the most progressive regulator in the world. It's the only regime in which you have a financial services regulator that includes innovation in its mandate. And listen, really pragmatically or cynically, we know the reason why that is. They weren't very happy after the 2007-2008 financial crisis. They wanted to put resilience back into the financial services sector and into banking. They didn't want to have to bail out the four largest banks again. And so they said, how are we going to increase innovation as well as competition at the same time? And that's what the regulator's been minded to do. And that's what's really supported all of these startups that have come out. And because we've had a large financial services sector, you've got people who've been fed up with inefficiencies and saying, listen, I can apply tech to what I've been trying to do day to day and probably make a much more valuable company, which provides better services and products for consumers at the end of the day.
You are in venture capital. You are in the capital of England. But this little thing called Brexit, Eileen, has it been more difficult to access investor capital given that? Or are people still putting money to work and saying, whatever happens, technology will roll on?
I'd be lying if I was saying it didn't bring up different conversations or difficult conversations. Brexit has been obviously a distraction. It gives people pause. It means we have to talk about whether or not UK companies, if they do need a regulatory approval, are going to be able to passport into the European Union after we leave. But it still hasn't dampened investor enthusiasm, and that's why I've pointed out that $5 billion coming in the first half of this year into fintech is great. It surpasses that of last year and the year before, which is only about $3 billion. Well, only, but it was about $3 billion for the entire year. So while it does cause people to have longer conversations about what the future might hold, it hasn't dampened enthusiasm at all. And I think we're going to come out of Brexit still just as strong on the fintech side.